a conflict, because it's number one.
Yeah. Just that way, just in case someone logged on.
It's mine.
A subdivision, but it's an administrative one. And she's like, why? She looked, I haven't said that.
Did Michelle Burns in
He's been in 3 times. So Michelle's like, no, he's been in 3 times. I said, I know, but she's gonna throw a fit. And then Michelle's like, oh no. And she's like, oh, okay.
Is the mic not working?
No, I
Oh.
will call the meeting. And since we don't have a vice chair, he's
Mhm.
absent, we need to ask for a motion for
Mhm.
appointment of a pro temp chairman for the meeting.
I'll make a motion to nominate Sherelle for that.
I'll second.
All right, I'm gonna call roll call. Mark,
Yes.
James, Brett, Eric,
Here.
Dan, George,
Yes.
Barry, Sherelle.
Here.
Okay, Sherelle, now you can start the meeting.
Okay, so officially we're calling the meeting to order. And was that the roll call or that was the vote?
That was the motion.
Okay, so let's go with the roll call then.
Oh, that's what I asked. Okay. Mark.
Here.
James. Brett. Eric.
Here.
Dan. George.
Here.
Barry. Sherelle.
Here. Okay, and we'll move to the minutes from the last meeting. Has everyone had a chance to review those? And if so, can we have a motion on them?
Motion approved.
We have a motion to approve. We have a second.
Second.
Have a second. All in favor? Oh, do we have to do a roll call on that? Oh, okay. Okay, roll call vote on that, please.
Hold on. Mark.
Yes.
Brett. Or Eric.
Yes.
James. Can you put him on the mic next time? Eric.
Yes.
George.
Yes.
Sherelle.
Yes. Moving on to new business, we have, turn it over to you and you can introduce it.
Okay, so the first one we have tonight is LU-0032-25. Beth Innes is requesting 2 variances for a newly created lot that is currently within the rural residential zoning district. The location of this is lots 15 and 16 of A&F First Subdivision, which is Section 9 of Township 155 North, Range 100 West, being Farron Township. We have received township comment back, and they have now approved, recommended approval on this item. The applicant is requesting a re-subdivision of 2 lots within A&F First Subdivision. Her lots are approximately 10 acres total and within that rural residential zoning district. The new lots will be approximately 8.45 acres and 1.58 acres. The larger lot meets the minimum required acreage for the rural residential zoning district, while the applicant is requesting a variance for the smaller lot to also remain in that rural residential zoning district. In December of 2024, the applicant was approved for a conditional use permit to allow for a second home on this property. Since that time, in order to secure financing for the second home, they're being required to have that new home on its own parcel, which is causing the re-subdivision. With the way the lots are being re-subdivided, they're also requesting a variance from the 50-foot building setback from the designated public road easement. Access to the property is through an existing access off of 133rd Avenue Northwest, which is also known as County Road 9. This re-subdivision is going through the review process, and the recordation of the plat will be contingent on the approval of the variance.
Any questions at this point? If not, we'll open the public hearing on this item. Any comments from the public? Any comments from the public? If not, we'll close the hearing. Board members, any questions or comments at this point?
Michelle, how much is the variance from the 50 foot?
With where her drainage field is, they actually have to push it back quite a ways. So they will end up being, I believe, let me get to the right page here. They end up being 434 feet from that public road from off of County 9. Normally you have to be right up within 50, right up on that public road. But with this one, with where her current barns / shop is and where she has her drainage field, it's just impossible to be able to be up there where it is fronting.
Stupid question, but why do they want them so close?
Because that's what the ordinance says. I
Okay.
don't,
Any other questions? Any other questions? So do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve a staff comment?
A second.
We have a motion and second. Can we have a roll call?
James,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Sherelle.
Yes.
Okay, so this next one is SP-0026-25. Richard Hubner, who is a trustee of the Richard Hubner Revocable Trust, Roger Hubner, Ronald Hubner, and Rosemary Berg are requesting a 3-lot minor subdivision within the rural residential zoning district. This parcel is located in the northwest of the southeast of Section 4, Township 154 North, Range 100 West, which is in Stony Creek Township. The township on this has recommended denial. The applicants are requesting a minor subdivision which would create 3 lots. The parent parcel is approximately 22 acres and within that rural residential zoning district. The newly created lots would be approximately 5.53 acres, 8.12 acres, and 8.10 acres. All 3 lots do meet the minimum required acreage within the rural residential zoning district. The smallest lot of this minor subdivision is limited to its current size because of 53rd Lane Northwest, which separates it from the rest of the parent parcel. Minor subdivisions of this nature are normally completed administratively. However, due to the township's denial recommendation, Director Cameron Heimer is subjecting the application to a public hearing process following Chapter 4-5-3.6 of the Williams County Zoning Ordinance and Subdivision Regulations. Access to the subject property is taken off of 53rd Lane Northwest. The minor subdivision is currently going through the review process with the appropriate county departments, and the lots will be known as MS 25-0026, 0027, and 0028. Recordation of the plat will be contingent on this approval.
Any questions at this point? If not, I'll open the public hearing on this item. Hello, please state your name.
Richard Hubner. I'm residing in Stuart, Florida. I'm representing the other owners for this application. Some of the members of the board were here in November when I had a previous application in front of the board. Since that time, I've rectified, I think, any problem with an adjacent landowner that had some issues. In fact, we're almost becoming friends, I'm not sure. But anyway, we're communicating very well and working to make things better for both of us up there. In fact, other members of that particular area that are looking for more water to their property. I've also taken into consideration the comments that were made by the board at the last meeting. You know, we had some discussion about rural residential butting up to to rural properties. So I've downsized the request. That particular piece of property, it's pretty hard to even do 2 10-acre pieces out of it, even though it's 22, because we got a township road running through it. So we end up with basically 3 parcels. The one parcel that's a 5-acre parcel to the west of the road is not going to be that sitting that way much longer. Hopefully, it's going to be part of the adjacent property there to the west, which we own. And so it's actually, well, you know, it's not the same zoning, but we'll have to go through a process to try to get that piece, that parcel attached somehow. And the other 2 parcels to the east, you know, you take 16 acres, you don't get 2 10s. The big issue, I guess, with the township that I heard last time, and I tried to clear up with them this time. I did call into their meeting. I did make my presentation to the township. I didn't get any questions regarding this particular proposal from them. I did find out through Michelle. Oh, by the way, super. I mean, she's been, you know, I've been a thorn in her side for I think about the last year and a half for sure. But she's always there, very helpful with you know my applications, with all the questions. But the township wouldn't really tell me why they're opposed to this size acreage, other than I see on the denial application that they request 10-acre lots or more, and nothing less. And so I would just ask the board that, you know, as they look at my application, to see that there's really no reason to deny unless the department can come up with one. And, you know, in accordance with the zoning regulation and ordinances, you would think every reason to approve. Perhaps the township will be here and explain what their reasoning is on the 10 acres, but I guess I'm in front of you tonight with the application because of that and what Michelle addressed in terms of the discretion that their department has regarding a minor subdivision request, and the applicant having to come before you to make his claim. So I really don't know much more that I can say about, you know, the application. I'm willing to take any questions you might have at this time, and then I'd like to have the recourse to return depending on what the township has to say. But I'm willing to address your questions if you have any.
Do we have any questions? Does anyone have any questions?
So the 5.53, you're looking to rezone that back onto your
Well,
land then?
I can't be sure what exactly what I'm doing. I can only tell you what I've done to date. Is I've spoken with you know, a surveyor, and I've actually been with the zoning department in regards to perhaps even coming in with an application to rezone some of that ag, which is possible, but that would require some surveying, and I don't know all the complications of that. So I'm dealing with a surveyor too in terms of adding land to that one way or the other, you know. But the bottom line is, on that particular piece of parcel, there's a power line running through there that has an easement. There's going to be a water line into that has an easement, and it's not really going to be a sellable piece of property.
I'm just viewing it as your verbiage is stating, you know, this looks like 3 parcels.
It is 3 on the
Okay,
on the
but
subdivision
you're stating 2 essentially.
that are
the
going to be
subdivision.
sellable property, and those property, well, they're going to be 2 to the east, and there's actually 3. But that third one is going to be retained by the owners until we get that ability to make it bigger, and also usable, because as it stands, even though it'll stand alone as a lot and a separate parcel within the subdivision, it's probably not a sellable piece, and we're probably going to retain it somehow in a future hearing with y'all. So
I guess, you know, the 8 acres, these 2, I mean, you know, it's comparable to the 10, but the 5, you know, I can see where Stony Creek Township, I reside in Stony Creek, you know, I live on 2 acres in Stony Creek, and that's where, you know, I guess I live within the city limits portion of it there, and I'm not sure how they passed it there or how that became it. I guess, you know, again, that's probably for a different conversation, but the 5.53 there, if this does go through, I can see where they probably would have a problem with it being out in that country setting there. Yeah. So, I mean, if it did go through there, your plan, you're telling us that you would want to move that into your existing acreage.
Yes, because
So we
it-
would need some kind of a
independent of itself,
clarification on
it's not
that.
really a buildable, you know, even though it would be part of the subdivision, it's not gonna be a sellable portion. So we have 160 acres that are adjacent to that, of which some can be added to that to make it a, you know, if it needs to be the 10 acre. My position on the township's desire for 10 is just that. I mean, they don't have, according to what I've read in the ordinances, maybe Michelle can address that, or Cameron, they don't really have the authority in the sense that they can dictate, you know, the size of a minor subdivision, because that's within the ordinance. In fact, you know, I could not be here tonight, depending on the discretion of Cameron, because they can do that administratively. So we're here, you know, to honor their input, and I respect the fact that the township does have, you know, a desire to keep stuff greater than 10, or at least no less than 10. But at the same time, I'm just trying to comply with what's on the books and with, you know, with all the,
I'm just stating just what you were going off with the 5.53. I was just confused on how you were relating that back and forth, to putting that back under your land versus putting it in the subdivision.
oh, well, now I'd like it in the subdivision. I'm coming before the board to just request a reminder on the whole piece, because there's one piece there, you know? So, I mean, that's the only way to divide that up, if I'm gonna divide it up. So, is that clear on that? I mean, as far as that property met the conditions for a minor subdivision, is that, as from what I can tell from your inputs, is that correct?
Yeah, so just to clarify, as Mr. Hubner had said, this minor subdivision does meet our ordinance. There's nothing in our ordinance that would prohibit the lots that were smaller than 10 acres, but the township did recommend denial. Typically, in a minor situation, following the zoning ordinance, I have the discretion to have those go in front of a public hearing. You know, if we, sorry, not I, but our department were to do this administratively, we'd still run into the issue of the township more than likely refusing to sign the plat, which would still require him to go in front of the county commission to try to override that signature. So I made the decision that it just needs to go in front of the public hearing process. But the project does not go against our zoning ordinance as far as acreage. That's just something that the township has put in there. But again, townships are a recommendation board. This township hasn't adopted zoning ordinances, and so they still fall within our zoning ordinances, but their recommendation was denial. So that's why it's in front of you tonight.
And there's a township here. Yes. Well, if there's no further need for me to answer any, I'll be willing to answer more questions, and or, you know,
Do we have
I
any
can't
more
really say
questions?
anything on behalf of the township, I guess, so.
The electrical easement that runs all the way through there,
Excuse me?
that electrical easement that runs both ways on there,
Electrical, there's electricity,
do you know what the setback from that is for even building?
excuse me?
Do you know what they've got for a setback off that easement for doing any building?
Where's that now? Oh.
On your electrical easement?
On my well, the electrical easement is a line that's actually, no, I think there's a north-south electrical that runs on the east side of that property there.
Mhm.
But to the right of the property line. Actually, that property line on the east side is power. And then they run a T off of that into that 5 acres, and that 5 acres got a little building that needs to be moved, but there's a pole there. And so there's an electrical easement that runs right through the property into the 5.
So kind of to answer your question, Mark, when we get a building permit, if we were to get a building permit for this lot or for this 5 acre lot, we would have to look at, we would do that review at that time to make sure that they're outside of those setbacks, which also we'd have to look at the recorded document of that easement that would state how big their easement is on either side of where this line is platted in. So we'd have to look at that recorded document to know how far away we would have to allow them or tell them that they'd have to build.
And that, our intention is not to have that occur as far as a building on that particular lot. What'll happen is additional acreage to the west will be added at the minimum. If there more, it's gonna be sold there. And that's another process altogether that has to be addressed. But for the future, it's the 2 to the east that will be of interest to, you know, local landowners. And at this point, the landowner that came up last time, like I said, he's supportive of what, you know, I've got before you tonight. And in addition, I've stated to him, and I had a phone call this morning, that there'll be some deed restrictions on deeds for those properties. Some deed restrictions regarding home size. He wanted a deed restriction to say that whoever buys those 2 8-acre parcels, they can't subdivide it further. And I mentioned to him that I'd be happy to sit down with him, and we'll go to the attorney when those deeds are ready to be drawn up. We'll come to some mutual conclusion for those parcels in the future. So like I said, we're working with all of the neighbors out there to the point that, you know, I'm not trying to disturb the area, make too much commotion for anybody, you know.
Is the neighboring property ag, or is there a house next
Yeah,
to it?
everything there that's yellow is rural residential. Anything that's not is ag in my estimation. And so, you know, the main concern was by the folk directly to the south. He's got a nice parcel there on larger acreage. And that's the gentleman that I've worked with to, you know, clarify any misunderstanding. And he's happy with the proposal as it stands. Additionally, the one that's ag there in that little triangle with the building, that one, I speak with him regularly, and he's, actually that portion that he owns there was sold off years ago to him by my father, so that he doesn't have an issue with what's happening there either. Anything else?
Any more questions? Any more comments from the public? If not, we'll close the hearing.
Thank you.
I'll just say the problem I have with a 10-acre lot is it's just a weed fest. I mean, how many people want a 10-acre unless you're running cows or cattle or horses or something? I mean, 10 acres is a lot of land, so. How long does it take you to mow 2 acres? What do you think?
I agree with you on that. The one section is not going to be buildable with the way.
Can you guys use the mic?
I agree with Mark on the one section might not be all that buildable with the easement for the electric. But that's a different ballgame. They have to come in and get that. But I feel that 8 acres is pretty good.
Way big.
And I guess I'll make a motion to approve.
I second it.
We have a motion and second. Can we have roll call?
James,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Sherrill.
Yes.
Just a brief update, if I may.
Okay.
We're still waiting on the city of Williston to appoint a new member to this board. And so once we find out, we'll let this board know as well.
Okay. We were just discussing that.
Thank you.
And our next meeting is July 17th. And having no further business, can we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
You did good. Yes. You bet. Thank you. We'll have a beer now.
Thanks, Karen. Thanks.